Let's say that we hop into our working folder for this chapter and open up a document simply named springflower.psd. Now, I took it, so there's no string of numbers against the name. Curves to me is like levels on steroids. It's like riding a bike all your life with training wheels, and finally the training wheels come off and you can do anything you want. Let's check it out. Go to the half moon icon down here and open up curves. There are similarities here. Button for curves, button for mask, just like you'd see in levels. You have presets. You do have your RGB for tone, or red, green, and blue for color, just like levels. You do have eyedroppers. We haven't looked at those yet, but they're in levels too. You do have a slider down here for black and one for white. And if I move this one by dragging it, I'm clipping black exactly, and I mean exactly, like in levels. Same thing with white. Now here's the difference. In levels, you have 3 trains that are locked onto a track. You've got black, midtones, and white. Now we do have black and white here, but the midtones or any other trains we want to put on that track can be added up here. For example, if I go right to the middle and click here, I've added, in a sense, a train on that track. But we don't really have a track. We can move that thing anywhere we want. However, if I use my arrow keys, that's more precise, and I move it up, watch the image. It gets lighter. It gets darker. I'm moving the mid-tone slider up and down. I'm really working in levels if this is all I'm going to do. Now let me go ahead and show you how you remove one of these. You can control, that's Command key on a Mac, Control in Windows, and click it and get rid of it. That would be one way. Another way, if you have one, would be to literally drag it off, just like that. Or if you want to get rid of them all, and like I said, you can put on, well, as many as you want. You can click here, Reset, put it all back together. Probably one of the best ways to look at this is to check out this here. We have a gradient slide down here and one going up here. This line connects them. Right here is exactly middle gray. Now that would be the middle gray wherever it exists in this image. And we come up here and we shoot off here to the left, and there it is again. In other words, what you see is what you're going to get. This is the image as it exists now. This is the image as we change it using the curve. So if I come up here again and do that, pull it up, that's still a middle gray here, but over here it's a lighter gray on a curve. Now the cool thing about this is, like I said, is you can put as many trains on that track as you want. Let me show you one. I'm going to leave that one right there in the middle. I'm going to put one right about here. Now watch what happens to the image when I pull that one up. And actually watch this too. Put one eye over here and one here. And as I move it, it creates an S. Now, if I do this, watch the image now. See how the contrast increases? We call this in curves a standard contrast enhancing curve. We're saying, computer, the areas here from midtone to light, make them lighter. But this acts like a gimbal, and it pushes this down, and we're saying, computer, all the areas of the image that were from midtone to black, make those on a curve darker. Now we perceive contrast where things shift. And by making the darker areas darker and the lighter areas lighter, we achieve a better contrast to the image. That's a standard image enhancing contrast curve. We can click here again, get out of here. Here's another way to illustrate it. If I come up to this one right here and drag it down, all the way down, I'm saying, computer, I know this image has pixels in it that go from black to white and everything in between. I want them all black. But if I push it up on the other side, I'm creating an RGB negative. I'm telling the computer where black is, go to white, where white is, go to black, on a null curve, and I have a negative. Curves allows me total control over this image. You can even find spots to put on this line by clicking this button right here. Now watch this. If I come over, it's telling me on that line exactly where that point is. If I click my mouse, I put a point there. What does that do? Well, if you get into more advanced classes, like in color correction, you can then use those points to manipulate those areas of color, and you're doing it with this button right up here. Curves is levels on steroids.